Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Therapy by the Book. My name is William Haddad.
I'm Daniel Villanueva.
And this is the show where we take one of your favorite fictional characters and ask the question, what would it be like if they came to therapy? For today's character client, we're on a road trip, actually, Daniel, off to the Midwest. This referral came to us from a very small farming town from a place called Dyersville, Iowa. And if anybody doesn't recognize that off the top of their head, our client is Ray Kinsella from Field of Dreams.
It might hurt some people's feelings, but I'm not a big baseball fan.
Me neither.
Oh, no. I was hoping we were going to have some yin and yang, man. I was hoping you were going to be a huge baseball fan. And now everybody, they're all going to hate us.
Already we've lost like half our audience.
Yeah.
There. It's like, that's it. Turn it off.
Please come back.
Wait.
This made me a little bit more of a fan. How about that? Anybody that's clicking off, don't do it, because I genuinely, it opened up my eyes to a lot of stuff that made me research even more how hard it really is to play this game and how much people love this game. That's what blows me away, and how generational it could be too. It's handed down just like other sports, I guess, but baseball has been just kind of a constant. It got people through wars, it got people through starvation, it got people through a lot of stuff, and it's pretty fascinating to see the history. Look it up yourselves, guys, guys and gals, if you have not researched it yourself. But there's a lot of information about the importance of baseball, I guess you could say, in the United States of America. Actually, around the world.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they call it the World Series for a reason. Yeah. And in this day and age, I think it's become a global phenomenon more than ever. But I will say, similar to you, whenever I watch this movie, I've only seen it a couple times, but each time I've always felt a deeper appreciation. I understand why other people love it as much as they do. This movie really does convey that it's not just about the sport. It is, as you say, the word is generational. It represents time. It represents a connection that transcends, a single lifetime, and is part of. It's almost the closest thing to a collective community, a community that can embody all 50 states of America. Because, as you said, it got us through wars. It got us through. It remains constant. Like don't want to get ahead of myself, but that wonderful speech that James Earl Jones's character Terrence Mann gives in the last 20 minutes of the film has that iconic line that America is like a team of steamrollers. It's always rolling by. It's always moving, always looking forward. But baseball is constant.
Yes, perfect. He said it best. It was really it was a lot more emotional for me this time, which I was kind of surprised at, because I've seen it a few times, maybe 3 times, 4 times, but for some reason I connected to it on a different level. Maybe I could see losing my own dad, so I made a connection between that and the emotional fantasy of being able to see him again, and the younger version of him at that. And maybe I'm getting ahead of myself now, but yeah, it was just a lot of fun. So I think we should dive in, man. I think there's a lot here, and there's a lot of fun to have out in the field. Oh, and we did another trip again, right? We did our session out. I think we did it outdoors this time.
Oh yeah, this was a field session. Literally, this was a field session. We were out there. We were out there among the corn stalks, and then the dugout and the bleachers under the lights.
Exactly, under the lights.
Right.
Yeah. So it was. It also started. I don't know about yourself, but I came home thinking about dimensions and how portals in the cornfields work and everything else, because we got to see it all.
We did. I came home thinking about the definition of heaven, thinking about tranquility, thinking about how nostalgia is almost synonymous with paradise in this movie.
Wow, that's deep. I agree.
and that's what, and I think in many respects, both our main client, but what may potentially be some fellow clients were lacking from the get go, and what they all found by the end of the movie.
Well, they were all looking for something, and aren't we all? I mean, really, we're all looking for something. We're all stuck in these patterns, these thought patterns of unfortunately trying to change the past or fix the past in order to control our future. So we're all giving ourselves a trauma response. We're all stuck in that loop. Just depends on the degree, right? It depends on how deeply we pull ourselves in versus touching it, sitting with it, and then moving forward. So Ray, what do you think about Ray?
He's an interesting one because, as you say, it's about patterns. What is he stuck in? The thing that he's stuck in is he's stuck in normalcy. He says it himself in the opening lines of the movie. Until I heard the voice, I'd never done a crazy thing in my whole life. His whole existence is one big pattern of unextraordinary.
But it's interesting that he said that, because if you look at or read or watch, I guess, or I guess for us it would have been listen to his history. He was involved in a lot of stuff. He was out there. He was out in Berkeley in the '60s. There was a lot of protesting going on. There was a lot of human rights activism. There was a lot of partying. There was a lot of life that he went through, that he just kind of dismisses. And I wonder if that's also part of his trauma, is that he minimizes this incredible life that he actually had. I mean, he went to Berkeley. Berkeley's not an easy school to get into. So he went there in the '60s. He lived this life. He connected, met his wife. They were active on campus, out of campus, and he was very avoidant of his own family. The patterns there, but not. I would say, and again, I don't want to get too far ahead, but I would say it wasn't because of what his dad was doing. It was the way he did it. But we'll get further into that. So yeah, I think there's a lot of minimization. I think there's a lot of disconnect, and he, plays it small, when in reality, he had a pretty robust life. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right. I think out of grief, out of unresolved trauma, out of unresolved grief and trauma, really, he
Yeah.
he minimizes, as you say, the things that he does have to be proud of, that he can feel good about, and that he's actually, he's a hardworking individual. I mean, he's not somebody who's just trapped in the daily sense by his emotions. He has a family, he has a farm. He's a doer. He's capable of functioning. He's capable of living, But what he's not capable of is thriving.
Ah, that's awesome. Yeah, exactly. That's what I came up with. There's this idea that he has a lot of unresolved grief, a lot of guilt around his dad, that he never really got to connect with him before he passed, and then the fear of being insignificant, or like you put it earlier, and he said it himself, or quote unquote ordinary. But what does that mean, right? So when our clients minimize themselves, it's everything's multiple. There's multiple perspectives to it, right? But let's play with the two, right?
Sure.
So we have one side where he's minimizing in order to can I continue to move forward, keep himself in this box and keep himself protected. But he's also minimizing in order to get people like us or his wife or whoever it is, and for him it was a lot of times his wife, to say, no, dummy, you lived a great life, you're a great man. So it's almost like he's subconsciously, I don't know if he's consciously doing it, but he's subconsciously siphoning the validation, siphoning the acceptance, the feelings that he is good enough, that he was strong enough, that he was connected, that he was happy, and that he did have this extraordinary life that he continues to minimize, in order to stabilize himself, or keep himself safe, and which also helps him avoid all the pain that he has, reflecting on his dad.
The one constant, the one similarity, and symbolism upon symbolism
Of
here,
course, for
that
sure.
that he allows himself to keep alive throughout all those years after he cuts ties with his father and goes to Berkeley and marries and all that, is that he continues to love baseball just like his father.
There's the connection. I mean, really, that was probably before his dad turned it into such a chore. Before his dad tried to, which is old school mentality, right? It's pain, 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 and then success is the idea. But before his dad did that to him, they bonded over baseball. It was something that they loved, just like he did, or he started to do with his daughter. When they're riding in the tractor,
It's
mowing
such a
everything
great
down.
scene.
Yeah, so you see the dual process as he's processing his trauma or issues with his dad, with going through it with his daughter. And dual process, not the right word. Can't think of the right one right now, but I think
parallel processing?
Parallel process. There you go, parallel process, because it's the same, man. And the his lack of knowledge of it is pretty heartwarming. So, which tells me that he was not malicious. He was not angry anymore. He was just hurt. He was a little boy that was hurt. Not that he was acting immature or anything like that. And I'll say that often. It has nothing to do with maturity levels. It's just you can see when the little boy or little girl or however anybody identifies comes out, and they're it's incongruent, right? There's a lot of pain, a lot of disconnect when it doesn't make sense to somebody looking through the looking glass. But their reality is different. Their reality is shaped by what they're trying to avoid and what they're trying to relive. And that's where I was talking about at the beginning. This need to change the past in order to control the future, because he's looking for joy, man. He's looking for happiness. He's looking for something to a spark. And he finds it. Dang, he finds it.
Boy, does he.
What do you think about his his quest, right? His quest for meaning, forgiveness, and then connection across time, really.
Yeah, it all begins and ends with dad and with his dad and with baseball.
Yes.
Like you said, we have a parallel process first with him.
Yes.
Sort of coming to terms, learning to love baseball again through his own child, his daughter, something that he once upon a time loved sharing with his dad, but grew to hate because the trauma and the unresolved grief got in the way. We miss not a crucial period, but we there's a window in his life. It's brief, I think, but when he's talking about, when he's sort of going into a little bit of his backstory with his wife, he talks about how his dad wanted him to succeed with baseball where he didn't. His dad was very much living vicariously through him in the hopes that he could
absolutely,
go pro, that he could do all these things with baseball that his dad tried so hard to do but never quite pulled off, and was just, we can get more into this too, was life and circumstance prevented him from doing. But Ray's not his father, and rightly so. He's his own person, and like anything that we're, like any box that we're pressured to fit into, even if it is a box that we don't dislike on principle, will grow to hate it over time. And that was what happened to Ray. He says by 14, by those teenage years, he's hates baseball. Leaves the house at 17, swears it off. Shouts at his dad, says something that he knows is not true about Shoeless Joe Jackson and the sport, but says it just to get under his dad's skin because he's angry. So there's all of that deliberate rebellion that's, even at the time, you have to wonder if some part of him knew that he didn't really mean these things, that he was just, this was his way of just saying, I'm not angry at baseball, I'm angry at you, I'm angry at why things for both of us had to be the way they are, and that we're not talking about that more.
Yeah, he pushed everything away because he did something, or at least in my opinion, I call that the push pull, right? The push pull meaning that I'm gonna push you away. I'm going to say mean things. I'm going to act like a jerk. I'm going to do whatever it is so that you can pull me back in. No, I love you. No, I miss you. No, I'm wrong. No, I'm whatever it might be. This push pull is almost kind of a testing to see if you really care, to see if you're going to fight for me, to see if you're going to, whatever it is. But his dad, I mean, we're talking, he was in the 60s. He was 17 because that's when he was in at Berkeley. So his dad was born, I'm assuming, in the 20s.
Oh no! So this actually, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is really easy to miss, because it's literally the opening dialogue. His dad was born. His dad was born 1896, and Ray was not born until 1952. So Dad is 56 years old when Ray is born.
Good catch.
So there, you have a larger than normal generational gap. It's a very big gap. And on top of that, his dad has not exactly had a life of leisure. He was fought in World War I. He was pushing himself through the rigors of baseball, but then he's working. I forget what he does, but that's right. He's working in the naval yard, so he's probably doing a lot of heavy lifting and manual labor. So his dad is very much weather beaten by the time Ray comes into the picture, and all the more so when Ray's actually old enough to start to understand the world around him.
Right, and how that influenced him, and I think that's why at this point he started to understand it a little bit better, because he was in his 30s now, that's a different generation. It's a different mindset. That's a different perspective. He was not going to give him the pull that he was looking for, within my theory of push pull. Who, unless somebody else has that, it's in a book somewhere or something. I apologize to you, incredible clinician, whoever you are that made it up. I just coined it in my own head because I've never heard it before, and I just saw it.
Just email it to us. Send us a letter. We'll read it out on the show, and then you can say "I told you so" as much as you like.
Full credit, yeah, for sure. I don't mind at all. I think that's what we do, right? We pick up new tools every chance we get, whether we think we made it up or not. Talking about people's past and their childhood. I mean, that's all mine, right? Isn't that? I made that up. I didn't make that up. No. No, might have been some guy named Freud, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Freud, or might have been Bowlby, maybe.
Yeah, something. Yeah. I mean, and if you think about it, they probably stole that from somebody else as well, and then it goes back even further. We can connect the dots if we really wanted to.
As my mom always says, all literature is having a conversation with itself.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yes, your mom is. That's perfect. Yeah, I'm going to actually write that one down.
Do yeah. Spread that wisdom.
And within a year, I'll forget where I got it from, and I'll think that I made it up myself. So we'll run with that. You can correct me later.
Yeah, we can have a whole debate about who thought it up first on a future episode.
But if you think about it, though, if we really look into it, he was not going to get what he wanted, and his dad, having been beat down for so many years, decades, 5 decades by the time he had his son, and think about it. And I always say that we're not self-aware till we're about somewhere between 5 and 8, 5 and 7, something like that, that we realize, oh shoot, I'm not the center of the universe. I'm other kids are mean, and people are bullies, and not all teachers are going to like me, and mom and dad act weird sometimes, and why is dad always angry? And then they start internalizing, and it becomes an issue. So we got a good 55 decades of pain. 1800s was not. It was rough, man. It was not a fun time. And then he lived through the Great Depression. He lived through all of that.
Yeah, both world wars.
Both world wars, yeah, and being part of one. And so he's coming into this with a different mindset of, hey, son, I mean, work your butt off. You need to buckle down. You need to do it, structured this way. And his son's saying, man, just love me. Just let me live. Let me enjoy this, because it was one thing that I had connected with you. It was the one thing that we did together. And now I hate it. I don't want anything to do with it. And I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but it's I'll just say it, and I don't mean this any disrespect to anybody in the Midwest at all, but or I guess it wouldn't even be a disrespect, but it's interesting to me that he went activist route. Coming from the Midwest, it doesn't seem like it would be a standard mindset. But I could be completely wrong. Maybe it was just a sign of that time.
I think that it wasn't about being an activist because of the cause. I think it was about just trying to prove to himself that he was as unlike his father as possible.
I love it. I love that you said that, because that's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
Keep going. Run.
Yeah, because that's because that's it. Because it's a baseball aside. There's nothing about his father's outlook on life that he was feeling connection with, that he loved, that he, as he says, his father at that point in his life never did anything spontaneous. He was broken, worn down physically, emotionally, and his whole approach was that life is a real, life's a real pain. Life is very hard, very grueling, and so you better be prepared to give as good as you get, and then some. And by the way, I need you to give as good as you do, and then some. So because you need to succeed where I failed, because I'm still bitter about never having gotten as far as I wanted to when I was your age. So I think that Ray it had nothing to do with his own personal beliefs or values. It was all just, I'm going to pick the most polar opposite path possible that is going to look on the surface like it's the yin to my father's yang.
Okay. Yeah. Or it wasn't even a conscious thought. It was just that I have felt so repressed for so long, or even suppressed, I guess. That yeah, you guys are fighting for the right stuff. You guys are arguing against the status quo that doesn't make sense to me either, because I have felt that, maybe not directly like the people he was being an activist for, but in a way, it fueled his feeling that he was right, that this was unjust, and we've talked about it before, and we will continue to talk about justice. The word justice is a huge word for us children of trauma. It just is one of those bold, spray painted, neon signed words that just blinks and lights up the sky, because justice is such a big deal, because we have felt injustice most of our lives. So when we see injustice or feel injustice, being children of trauma, whatever your perspective of that is, you double down, triple down on it, because we need to correct the wrong, whatever that is. So you can see how he flows in that direction, and really fights for the rights of what he thought was unjust, and that gives him new meaning, in a way it actually gives himself forgiveness, like, I'm doing the right thing, because I think there was a subconscious feeling that maybe I was wrong, maybe I did the wrong things, and in a way, as he gets older, I think he realizes that he did, but not at the level that a 17-year-old would perceive himself to be doing. I think he just felt so out of control that he needed to express himself, and unfortunately he needed to run away. Going to college is not running away, not communicating and avoiding those tough conversations. That's what's running away is.
Mm-hmm. And we should clarify too that although he's living in Iowa in the at the time of when it all happens, when the story
60s.
starts, and Well, he's not living in Iowa as a kid. He didn't grow up in Iowa.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it was in the 80s when he was. Yeah.
He moved to Iowa because his wife was from there, and that he makes that joke that the only thing we had in common was that she was from Iowa, and I had once heard of Iowa,
which is funny actually.
It is, and I want to get more into that in a second, but it's that where he was coming from, because he was coming from New York because his dad was a Yankees fan and he was a Dodgers fan until they moved to Los Angeles.
Brooklyn. Yes. Yeah.
Where they belong. But
where they came home.
Yeah. there goes our East Coast audience.
I know. There's the other. Yeah. We're down to a quarter. You guys got to stick with us.
All right. Please just bear with. We promise this is going to be beautiful and entertaining. So there's, so he's coming from the East Coast. He's crossing the nation to go to college. And I think that even though, as you say, there's that element of looking for justice, of wanting to feel a sense of clarity and a sense of affirmation and self-assurance in that he's more deserving, and that he should be able to feel better about himself and about the differences between him and his dad. I think also that because that wanting justice for himself was inherently personal and subconscious, that's why we never quite get the same level of zeal for him as a member of that movement. Because like he says, it's subtle, again, easy to miss, but he drops indications that although he was part of that scene, he was not the vanguard. I tried to sit our music. I smoked some grass, I was
right.
Officially an English major, but it's not like he was writing the speeches at these protests. No. It's not like he was, that he didn't find meaning in his life from it. He found connection. He found new clarity and awareness and community, but it was not a calling. He didn't become a part of something greater.
Not like the writer that he found, who I loved. Mr. Darth Vader himself.
Such a great character. Vader in his heyday, later years when he's a novelist writing about his many incredible journeys across the galaxy.
As he was hiding on Earth.
Exactly. He was always here, guys. He was just down in Boston this whole time.
That's it.
Well, the aspect with his wife that I thought was really interesting was that, in a way, she is that almost avatar of justice for the movement that he never quite managed to find in himself. We see even, in the 80s, she is every bit as incensed and ready to leap to advocate for what she believes in at the book banning,
I love that.
PTA meeting. Such a great scene. Even then, she's still just and she's all fired up afterwards. She's ready to just take on the world and be proud of it. I think in a way, meeting her was what really helped him to come into his own as an adult, because here's this woman who has that passion, that spontaneity, has everything in herself about the movement and this community that he never could quite put his full heart into. Yet she loves him anyway. She loves him for who he is. They obviously have a very, very happy marriage together. Even though there's so little in common. And I think that was what was key, that even though it seems like she's both everything about the movement that he's not, and on the surface they seem to share so little, they still love each other. He's still able to have this beautiful relationship with her. And that, I think, was what made almost all the difference in getting him taking that first step back to himself.
Well, and it's something we teach our clients always, and I mean I know I do for a fact that I verbalize this is this idea that when we are our true authentic selves, when we're very comfortable in our own skin, we also give everybody else permission to do the same. And listeners, I mean, it's this idea that you walk into a room and let's say it's at work and you're in the break room or wherever the heck you are. And then that one person walks in and they are just happy. They're just living their lives. They're not connected. They don't care about none of the drama. They're just doing whatever they're doing. and it makes you feel at ease. It makes you feel safe, and this safety gives you permission to also start to be just a little bit more of yourself, and to start taking off some of these masks that we all put on to assimilate or to get validation, or the combination of. And she was that for him. She was very confident, very comfortable in her own skin, and she knew who she was. Where he's coming from a place where he was almost kind of being forced to be this archetype, right? This person. I need you to do this so that you can get here, so that you can do that. Dad, dad's pressure. And then he left and kind of lost himself, didn't know who he was. And that goes exactly with what you're talking about. It's just he was there, but maybe he wasn't leading. But I think he did believe in it, though, because you can just by the subtle, just the little things. There was again a connection to justice, which this fueled. But she was the one that was just completely comfortable, so it made him feel comfortable. And then he started to find himself. And their little girl is a complete uh, bleeding or a bonding of them both. She finally is highly intellectual, but also very empathetic, very in tuned, and very comfortable being herself, whatever that might be. I love that, man, and I love how the story that he told us has evolved into letting us see all these different aspects of life, on how um, when he lets himself just be, this bleeds in, or ripple effects to everybody around him, meaning his wife and her energy to him, and their energy to their kid, and then eventually when brother-in-law, who irks me, finally sees the ghosts, or I'm sorry, our friends. Then we can see everything coming together, and he starts getting the ripple effect to himself too. It's this comfort, right? It's this comfort to be self. And the field is almost kind of like I don't know, and like an unconscious or a subconscious space for healing, right? It's this metaphor, but it also is just a blunt, forced demand for healing. Because I mean, he basically cut out a income supply and said, no, this is what needs to be done. And that's, if we use that as a metaphor, he's kind of telling himself, no, you need to forgive yourself. You need to step into your own world, start living here, because he hasn't been living here, man. He hasn't been present for a long time. He's good at, I'm gonna say he's good at hiding it. But I think his wife sniffs through his malarkey. But she loves him anyways, and she knows for the most part he's here, but he's not really there. So yeah, what do you think about that?
I agree. I think that the building of the field is the ultimate clinical intervention.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Yeah.
this is, I forget the name of that show, but that that reality TV show where they say, this is an intervention, where it's a lot about substance use and addiction.
Oh yeah. Now I know what you're talking. I've probably seen clips of it, but yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
I think they showed it to every therapy student at some point where where we went to.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is that, on the next level. I mean, if you build it, he will come. That is this movie's equivalent of, pause, think, stop, think, and
Yeah.
it's time. This is what needs to happen. Create this space so you can heal, so that everybody can heal. That ripple effect you were talking about, that is the word, man. That's the word.
Yeah. Yeah, recreate this space, literally and metaphorically. Create this space, because he needed to open up. He needed to really explore his shadow selves. I mean, if we're going to go Jungian, right? He needed to, look at what it was that he was searching for, and what he was searching for was peace. He was searching for this need for, almost kind of like a need for redemption, but not really. Um, but to have closure, to have uh, man, I can't think of the right words. I know exactly. If I could draw it for you, I would. But there's this need he was looking for, and I'm just going to call it to be able to fix the past in order to control his present and future.
Yeah, I think even simpler than that. Honestly, I think he just wanted to feel. He just wanted to share love with his father. I think
for sure.
that's all really that what it boiled down to at the end.
Which tells us he wanted to share love with himself, man. He wanted to love himself because he was not caring about himself. He was neglecting himself. He was not happy. He was just, every day was, Groundhog Day, which, that's another 80s movie if nobody's seen it. Maybe it was 90s. I don't know.
No, it was it was 90s. But oh boy,
yeah,
we're definitely going to do that
over
at some point.
and over. Oh yeah, like over and over and over and over. Every day was just the same thing, which is part of life sometimes. But if we're present, if we're completely present, completely here and experiencing this life, this trip around the sun that we get to do every day, then he can find the little subtleties that make every day different, and gives him another opportunity to love, whether it's his wife, his kid, or ultimately the most important part, which some people might disagree with me, but it's himself. You need to love yourself, and you need to be very conscious of how mean you are to yourself, how cruel you are to yourself, and rectify or change that pattern, because that's what he did for 17 to, what was he, like 37, 38? I thought I wrote it down somewhere, but
It was mid to late 30s.
So let's pretend he was 37, right? So for the last 20 years, he's been nothing but mean to himself, nothing but looking for all the regrets, all the things he could have done different, all the things he messed up, all the, on and on and on and on. And then he finally, like you said, he made space. Made space. Such an incredible thought process.
Yeah, and I liked what you said earlier that on some level, his wife recognized that was what he was trying to do in a way, even though it was a little strange that he's coming in and saying, I just heard a voice that told me to build a baseball field. But
Yeah.
what I think really was the crucial point that she picked up on was that there was an earnestness about his need to do it, that it was necessary for himself. He wasn't doing this for some kind of abstract goal or philosophy. This wasn't like, marching for justice or anything. This was him looking to connect with him on a deeper level. And because, as you said, she was someone who was already comfortable in her own skin, who already knew who she was, she could appreciate the need for him to do that.
She was attuned to it, man. Yeah, which is such a cool little subtlety for you to pick up on, if she was. Yeah, she was very attuned to this idea that, okay, you're finding yourself, and I have your back 110%. I love those kind of characters, or I'm sorry, partners, wives, husbands, whoever they might be, that step up, that are saying, okay, we'll figure it out, and we're going to work together to make things right. Because again, I feel like she was just so at peace with herself, which is such a beautiful thing, such a gift, and it's such an amazing thing for him to be searching. And we can now, we brought this guy up earlier, who's we should do one on Freud one day, but he's not fictional, but
he's not fictional,
okay.
But he's been portrayed in enough movies at this point that we could probably make
so we
it
could
work.
play with it, right? But I mean, he was searching for that within himself, and he found it within her. And that was probably that strength. She's a beautiful woman and all that, but I think there was that inner connection with self that was very attractive to him. and it helped him grow. It helped him see the world from a different lens. Interesting though for her to want to go back to farm life, being this activist, being this bulldog, and then says, "Nah, I want to go back and be a farmer again." He was like, "Wait, no, you would have never told me I was going to be a farmer." I forgot how he worded it, but yeah, she was able to find that balance to say, I'm always going to fight for what's right, but at the same time, I want this kind of life, whatever it might be.
Well, it's that I think speaks to the nature of the complex nature that is human nature. That is that we are beings who are gray. When we're young, we see the world in black and white. We're taught most of the time to look at the world in black and white. But the reality is that it's always something in between. It's a little bit of both. And she, and that I think was her way of acknowledging that about herself. That she was, she was an activist, and that side of her wasn't going to go away. It's still there as a farmer, but she also likes farming. She likes living on a farm. She likes that part of herself too, and she wants there to be space in her life for both pieces. And that's exactly what Ray, was finally learning that he needed to do for himself as well. He needed to learn that he's both not his father and like his father. That he, is both a farmer and someone who's always going to be ready to go on the field to play a game of catch.
And I think he's known it his whole life, though. I think he's just finally coming to terms with it, because he says that sentence that I wrote down. Yeah. I never forgave him for getting old.
I wrote that down too. That was literally the first thing I wrote.
Oh man, because that stood out to me like crazy. That was a perfect metaphor of this idea that he always thought he would have more time, but he, given, going back to my theory on the push pull, he's always waited for his dad to pull him back in. He's always waited for that opportunity, that time. And he basically had the same damn stubbornness that his dad had, and they both unfortunately never came around, until they, the psychological space that they created with the baseball field.
But yeah, that gave them what they finally had always both wanted, which was to play catch when they're both in a place in their lives to do so, without feeling the wear and tear of life.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. What do you think about oh my god, Ray Liotta? I forgot his character's name.
Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Shoeless Joe Jackson. What do you think about that? Because I kind of thought of him as like a metaphor, right? This idea that he was going through his own, like this complicated grief of being blackballed, being left behind, and never having a voice, never being able to have, again, here's your neon lighted sign, justice. And so he's the first one that comes back, and he's, mourning, like not only like the people or the game or whatever, but mourning self, right? There's this idea that he had always struggled because of what was imposed on him, when, well, according to our client, he didn't really have anything to do with it. He was not corrupt. He was not. He wasn't what he was accused of being, and this gave him the opportunity again. This field, man. This field is an amazing tool. It gave him this opportunity to just kind of grow freely within his own relationships and within himself, almost kind of not forgiving self, because he didn't do anything to need forgiving, but also, yes, forgiving self, to say, this is where I am, and it's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm actually happy. I'm in a good place. And our client did the same thing. He was he was connecting with himself, and he finally came to a place where he's like, yeah, I actually like myself, and I like my life.
Yeah. The field is a second chance for everyone who sets foot
Perfect. Yes.
That's what, because you're absolutely right. They're both, their lives are different, but the clarity, the closure that they both obtain from coming to that field is very similar, is the same.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and Shoeless Joe Jackson, his life was, was not, obviously wasn't raised, but he had his own crisis of self with the racketeering that happened on the World Series for the White Sox, with taking the money, but sure as heck not playing to throw the game, but having to still be caught up in the aftermath and the repercussions, and never getting a chance to be up there in the major leagues in the World Series again. Yeah, that takes a lot out of the spirit, and would have left, I think, would have left anyone feeling just very despondent for a long time afterwards. So coming to that field again and being able to play with his old teammates, with Ray, with everybody, without any of those burdens weighing him down again, would have been probably the most beautiful thing he could have given himself.
Oh man, no, I totally agree, and you see it also with the doc, right?
Oh yes, let's talk about Archie Graham.
Yeah, because Archie basically was also, if you want to look at it from that perspective, he was our client's uh, opportunity, let's call it, to be able to be young again, to be able to relive or live through that life that he's always wanted, where he did what he wanted to do, lived his life, was connected, felt free, felt happy. And so he's watching this happen in front of him, but he's also reliving it himself. So it was almost like a way for him to forgive himself, or question, what's his legacy, what is he leaving behind, question freedom versus responsibility. That was another theme that came up for me. Is this what am I allowed to do versus what is my calling? And they were both his calling, but medicine really was his true calling, right? And for Ray, family, love, connection, that was his calling. His calling was to embrace his family, to be there, to be present, to live this life. And then isolation, because the guy would go to the bar. He had this routine, right? Everybody knew his routine, and same with Ray, right? It's the same thing. He would have this routine, and he was very isolative. Isolative? I don't even know if that's a real
isolating
word.
I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Isolative.
He was very isolating.
We'll petition to have that added to the dictionary.
Well, yeah, we'll try to get it added to the dictionary. All kinds of words in the dictionary now, so we might be able to get away with it.
We got a shot.
And then there's transcendence, right? This idea that can love and forgiveness and all these emotions that are finally coming out of them, can they reach across his timeline and everybody else's timeline? Because if we look at it from different perspectives, it's just, and this is the ripple effect again, it's just flowing, man. It's going into everybody and anything. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but
it's going into.
It's okay.
Not if you're overthinking it, please keep doing it, because I think you're bang on course.
What's our saying? It's everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
Just in case you didn't hear, everything is connected. Yeah.
Well, Archie Moonlight Graham is almost his character arc in the film is different in an interesting way, because unlike Shoeless Joe Jackson, even unlike Ray's father, John Kinsella, Archie's whole life was about the fact that his path as a baseball player really stopped before it ever got started. He didn't even play in the game. Well, he played, but there wasn't anything for him to do. He was just out there for 8 minutes, standing in the outfield, and the game ended, and that was it. But as he says, so I was a Major League Baseball player for 5 minutes. Okay, but if I'd only been a doctor for 5 minutes, that would have been the real tragedy.
Exactly.
He's already made peace and is glad that he is who he is and led the life that he has when we meet him.
Perfect. And that's what Ray needed.
And that's exactly what Ray needed.
Yes, that's what he needed. And for him to be able to relive his childhood and know that it was okay. I didn't need all that. I didn't need to to I didn't miss anything, and that I am happy and comfortable with who I am and where I am. It gave Ray the same, and this is what we were talking about earlier, the ripple effect. It gave him permission to do the same thing. Because Ray is actually really emotionally intelligent. He actually is, like, very, very emotionally intelligent.
Oh yeah.
Where he struggles though is explaining what he feels. He doesn't know how to do it. He's never been taught to. He's never. So like his empathy can fill that damn farm. But his ability to explain it, I mean, he's lacking there, man, and I don't blame him. I mean, how could he have something he's never? It's like me, I don't know, trying to draw something with my left hand. My left hand is literally, my left hand is there for looks, so that my right hand doesn't feel like it's all alone. You know, it's
moral
balance,
support.
It's just here, and maybe to hold on to something while my right hand does all the work. Yeah,
give it a thumbs up occasionally while your right hand's doing
yeah, exactly. It gives me it gives me ability to do double thumbs up. That's the height of its abilities. But yeah, he's never been taught that, and that gave him permission. All these other characters that come out, you know, the angry pitcher, the I don't know, some of the outfielders, all these people, and the writer, we'll get into him soon, but they all were manifestations of his own insecurities, his own needs, his own wants, and I love that. I love how that all plays out, and also I love how he again was so emotionally intelligent that subconsciously he started to pick it up. He started to understand his path, something that he'd been blocking off for, you know, what was the math we came up with, 20 years?
Yeah,
and I would even argue even longer than that, since he was a little kid, because his dad, and this is where generational trauma comes in. His dad passed down a lot of his stuff to him, and his dad's dad passed on a lot of his stuff to him, and so on and so forth. We can get into the genetics of it, but let's just play with the specifics of it, and it's just patterns, it's traits, right? Yes, there's and you guys can do your own research on that. There's some genetic changes that actually happen, but for on surface area, let's not turn this into a science show, but on the surface area, it's these fears. It's these fears of, no, you got to grind, you got to keep your head down, you got to stay within this box. That trauma, for people to succeed, kept getting passed down. All of a sudden, Ray said, consciously or not, no, it's okay to be happy, and that's what he taught his little girl. We still are hard workers. We still do whatever we need to do, but it's also okay to love yourself, to be happy. And you see that shine within her. So he might have broken the whole pattern right there and then.
He did. Or to love yourself for being a hard worker, which is what to go back to Dr. Graham, what he teaches Ray at that such a crucial moment.
Yes.
So going now to Darth Terrence Mann and his novels and his writing. James Earl Jones.
I just love that actor. Oh. James Earl, he's just such an amazing actor. And
he is.
Oh no, I'm pulling us out of the lore, right? He's such an incredible writer. Great humanitarian civil rights man that we met as his spirit came out of the cornfields to talk to us. He represents this very intellectual, strong in his convictions person that Ray needed for himself. That was something that Ray always wanted, but he did it. I think he was 17. He was a kid, but he did it in a way that was misleading, that was defensive. It was on the attack. Where this man, other than the baseball bats and stuff, which I can't blame him. I mean, if somebody pulls a finger gun on me, I'm hitting them with a bat too.
Oh, it was a crowbar. That's what he was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's right. It was a crowbar. He doubles down on who he is, and I think Ray appreciates that. And again, now we're talking about his wife too. That's where he sees it too. We talk about it in different arenas, which I would even argue. We didn't get the opportunity to sit down with his dad very long. But his dad had some of that as well, and I think Ray shut himself off to that because it caused too much pain. So again, another one of our clients that chooses suffering over pain, where pain is, it's inevitable, it's part of life, but it passes. They'd rather sit in suffering, which has lasted him. And again, we're making a number because I don't remember how old he was, 37 years. It's a long time. Well, 32, because we'll give him credit that he was doing okay till he was like 4 or 5. Yeah, what do you think?
I think that with Terrence Mann, certainly there's a parallel to Ray's father, that they're both men who are very burned out on life. And the thing about Terrence Mann is that he actually, you could argue, succeeded where Ray's father never quite made it with baseball. Terrence was that success. He was that icon with his writing for decades. He was both everything that Ray's father aspired to be and everything that his wife aspired to be, with justice and advocacy. He's his wife. He's an idol of his wife's too. She recognizes, instantly before he does. So but when he meets Ray, Terrence is a man who's very, very much depleted of his passion, of his love, of his self-appreciation, and his gratitude for the life that he's been able to give himself and live. And all he acts like a man who feels like he has given everything and received nothing, and wants to be left alone.
Who does that remind you of?
Oh, somebody else in the movie.
That's our character,
exactly.
Man. It's almost we see we see how it's they're living the same life at that where they are in that moment, and the difference is that because of the exchange of their and I don't know. I don't even know what you would call that. I guess new kind of masculinity, where it's like gentle, emotionally present. I don't know, willing to risk how they're going to look to other people, what somebody else might think, just because they're following their heart. Because he goes with him, even though he thinks he's kind of crazy. And then Ray goes to find him, even though he thinks the whole thing is crazy. But they're willing to, just like you said at the beginning, they're willing to give in to themselves to say, okay, I'm worth this. I'm worth the effort. I'm worth the caring. And I love how it just, we continue to see how these different people reference a point in their lives and in Ray's life, and how they're almost kind of a reflection and a solution at the same time.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. One of the things that this film is so good at doing is taking emotional abstractions and making them physical, making them appear materially to us.
I love that.
In the world.
Give me more.
Well, there's that in the you see that with the whole. I mean, every scene with Dr. Graham, from Ray's walking with him on his old routine to then picking up his younger self and taking him to the field to what, as you were saying, both when Ray and Terrence are at the baseball game and they see and hear together the voice and the message on the billboard.
on the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's both of them, together at a baseball game, symbolism. That's both of them finally reaching a point for the first time where they're able to mutually accept and encourage each other to put in that effort you were talking about, to start to realize themselves.
I totally agree. Yeah, and then we see it as it starts to play out towards the end, and everybody is connecting. Everybody's seeing this other way to, I always say that everything is about 5 degrees of perception. I love to say that because it really is. It's it's that, and if nobody can see my hand, it's moving about 5 degrees, just that little tweak. It changes everything. And as they all start to change, as they all start to, and I'm gonna even ball up that word and throw it away, as they begin to reconnect with their authentic selves, not change. They never changed. They actually found themselves, is what happened. You see things start to open up. You see happiness, you see acceptance, you see love, you see joy, you see abundance when there was deficits. You see everything that we all are looking for and want, and that you and I always teach, right? We see it play out. We see it in conversation. We see all of it, and then we have this final, right, this corrective, like, emotional experience between him and his dad, and it's something. It's something so healing. It doesn't even need to be talked about. It's just so profound, and they just play catch, man. Something so simple, and that playing catch to me was uh like saying it's okay. I don't need to push. You don't need to pull. I accept you. I love you. I care about you. And we both made mistakes, and it's okay. And we can go to, even into the most extreme cases. I don't push for forgiveness. That's never been my thing. But I do push for understanding. And I think I've said that before. And so he understood at that moment, and dad did too. And through understanding, the byproduct was forgiveness. They moved on. They moved forward. They were comfortable in their own skin with themselves, and they were happy and comfortable and connected outside of themselves with the people they loved.
Yeah, I like what you said too about, and this kind of goes back to Terrence Mann's character, that it was finding self acceptance required letting go of where of how others might perceive you for doing so, and we see that probably most prominently. We see that with Ray, with the disbelief and incredulity that his in laws treat him with when he first tells them, I'm building this field and this is what I'm doing. They're like, what? They're just his brother-in-law who just is scratching his head for 90% of the runtime.
Oh my god.
Also some of the other folks just think he's lost it completely.
Well, the whole town.
The whole town, yeah.
The whole town. And they've been talking crap about him behind his back this whole time, which is horrible.
Oh,
yeah.
It's terrible.
What about grandma, or I guess she would be grandma to the granddaughter, but her statement of why you, or you don't need to treat me like I'm stupid, or I think she said something like that when they were saying you don't see the baseball players. Why did she take that tone instead of you're he's losing his mind, or why would you treat me like I'm stupid, is I think what she said, which stood out to me because I thought she feels insecure with him. He makes her feel insecure because I think there is this emotional understanding. Again, remember, that's what I was saying a little while ago. He does have emotional awareness, and I think with that, he stands his ground on certain things, and he's comfortable with himself in certain things, which makes her obviously feel really uncomfortable because her first thoughts weren't, "Oh my god, this guy's losing his mind. He's going to kill my daughter." No, her first thoughts were, "Why are you trying to make me feel? Or you don't need to make us feel stupid." I forgot the exact word.
Yeah, no, but I do. I know what you're getting at. It's projection 101. In therapy terms, and I talk about this with a lot of clients who struggle with low self-esteem. Is that where we get tripped up a lot of the time when we're trying to learn to be more compassionate and appreciative of ourselves is how are other people going to take that? Because we all love being, we all love praise, we all love words of affirmation and being told that other people appreciate us. So whenever we try to make a big change, there can be a lot of anxiety surrounding that. But some of that anxiety is warranted because many times when a person who is very much at odds with themselves and hates who they are or is insecure about themselves comes into contact with a person who is sticking to their ideals and holding firm with their integrity, that'll make them very bristly. They're liable to even lash out sometimes. And it's not that person, it's not that Ray is making her feel insecure. It's that inadvertently she's being reminded of her own insecurities,
own insecurities.
Yeah, that she still does not have that sense of comfort in her own shoes that he's finally starting to grant himself.
Yes, it's the defensiveness, the defensiveness that comes out in order to protect herself, because ultimately she loves herself, whether she sees it or understands it or knows it. Yeah, your statements, I call that I always tell people that they're ice cream, right? And I think we've said it before, but I'll for anybody that's listening to this for the first time, I say that you're ice cream. The idea is that if somebody says, "Oh, you're so smart," "Oh, you're so handsome," "You're so pretty," whatever it is, that's whipped cream. If somebody says, "Oh, you're such an incredible dad," "You're so," that's chocolate chips. Does ice cream need it? No. Is it good? Yes. Are we going to turn it away? No. Why? It's good, but we don't need it. It's extra. So this validation, this external validation, it's nice, but when you accept it as that's what you're looking for, so now you've changed yourself from being the ice cream to the toppings. But when we are the ice creams, uh, we don't need anything else. We're delicious and perfect, or great on our own. Uh, but
Exactly.
but but when we switch it, we're grandma. I'm going to call her grandma now, just so it's easier to identify. But what grandma was doing, she was the toppings, and so she's looking for anything to connect to in order to get the validation she needs to feel okay, to not feel quote unquote stupid or whatever, however she was thinking about herself, which is sad. My empathy says I feel bad for her. Okay, what about what are you thinking for diagnosis?
I had to rack my brains a little with this one
I
because
struggled.
it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, especially since we met we met the baseball players from the field.
Well, that's the thing.
He's not hallucinating.
He's not hallucinating. It's not psychosis because he's not the only one who can see them. Everybody, there and
we
more.
Saw him.
We saw him. His wife saw him. His daughters. Everybody.
Yeah.
No, I mean they're there.
Darth helped me write a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. So it's you can't do. You can't go to that door. I think that if we're going to go deep, if we're really going to take this from as all encompassing a diagnosis as you can, I think that it's bereavement. I think that it's a very, very, very long running, very deep set form of bereavement, because that it was the unresolved grief from his dad, and we didn't really talk about this, but I think also his mom, who died when he was only 3. I think it all.
I was gonna say that
all compounded.
I was gonna bring her up earlier to reinforce kind of a lot of that, a lot of what we talked about. But then we got so far in, I was like, I don't even want to bring her up right now. But yeah, no, she's a huge deal to all of it.
Yeah. She would have just given only just added to that loss, that pain, and that rift that was already pretty big to begin with between him and his father.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think bereavement, because that's at the core of everything that's driving him to where he is, what he's feeling when the movie begins, and to the whole reason why he realized he had to build this field in the first place.
Yeah, I was thinking bereavement. I was also thinking complicated grief. And then I kind of saw, and me, I'm very late with my diagnosis. I don't like to diagnose to begin with. Again, yeah. Sorry, BBS, but I'll do it. I'll do it because you want me to. I'll do it. Don't worry. But I think adjustment, maybe some sort of adjustment related, maybe with anxiety, maybe mixed with anxiety and depression. But I think grief probably fits in. I didn't look how, what's the time spans for a diagnosis of grief. Could it last? I don't know, 20 years. But I guess it could, as far as the diagnosing ability, or when does it turn into dysthymia or MDD, or, because there was a lot of sadness that was covered up,
Yeah. Well, that's what makes it complicated, I think, because
Yeah.
I believe that there are provisions with the time, because that's the whole point of complicated grief or bereavement, is that it's meant to persist longer than what would collectively be considered quote unquote normal span of grieving, although that in itself is kind of a loaded concept. But where I think at least where I felt like I could rule out depression or dysthemia, is that it's not, he's not struggling to get out of bed every morning. He's not
No.
He's not ghost walking. He's not a walking zombie. He's not, just sort of devoid of energy or passion to his day. He's still living. He's still able to have good days and good times with his family, and feel and appreciate. It's just that there is that it's what the problem is that it's on a deeper level. There's that underlying grief stemming from his childhood, and the trauma from that's preventing him from, well, what I said before. It's the difference between living and thriving.
Yes. Yeah. Or living and existing. He's not living; he's just existing. And he is disconnecting from family. He is very avoidant of things that remind him of that grief, of that pain. Yeah, so he would. He would fit for the criteria for a few different things, but I think that's good. I think grief is what we can go with, and I'd feel comfortable with it. What about treatment?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So I think we hit upon it earlier when you said that he's wonderful. He's a very naturally empathetic individual. What he's lacking is the language. He's lacking the ability to verbalize and articulate in more concise terms what he is feeling and why he's doing the things that he's doing. But I would start there, just psychoeducate, expand that vocabulary, and then from there go into some just do a lot of processing and emotional reflection. I'd ask him, so tell me some more about. Let's put some words to your childhood when you were having those fights, those conflicts with your dad. What were you feeling inside? What was that? What did that little boy really want to say? When he was shouting about Shoeless Joe Jackson the day he left.
Yeah.
What was?
Yeah.
Now that we've created this new vocabulary, this new pool of expression for you to draw upon, how can we rephrase some of that?
Okay, I love it. I love it.
How about you?
I think I would start more existential, like very like humanistic. This idea that like I would want to make him, or not make him. That's horrible. I take that word back. Sorry, we don't make anybody do anything. But I would have him try to make meaning of his journey. Right. Try to make meaning of what this all means, even like the rational parts, the stuff that just doesn't make sense. We need to make him understand why. What is the meaning of all of it? What does it mean to be a good dad? If he's ready to let go of his own guilt, what kind of life he would want for his daughter, what kind of life he would want for himself, what kind of life he given the meaning, what kind of life he would have wanted for himself going through whatever he is. Again, we're looking at the past, but we're not staying there. I'm going to help him hold it, and then we're going to bring it back to the present, and then we're going to use that to go into the future to see the possibilities of what his daughter, his life, her life, what it's going to look like. But then we're going to come back here again. We got to come back to center. We got to come back here. And then I would do the grief and legacy work, right? Because it's grief.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Maybe some sort of, well, I guess that would be more gestalt, but like some empty chair work, to where I'd have him talk to his dad. Really have that. Oh, I don't even need to do that. I just need to call his dad.
I was gonna say, just do a conjoint session. I would say, like, I was thinking this watching the movie, because it reminds me of how I used to do sessions all the time with my FSP clients. I just play catch with them. That would be my therapy session. I'd say, here, I got a glove. Let's play catch. Let's have this be our dynamic while we talk.
I've never tried that with an adult. I've done that with a lot of kids. I wonder if an adult, and I'm looking at it from my perspective, I don't know if that would work with me. I feel like I'd be like, I don't want to play catch with you, man. I'm not here for that. But that's me. Maybe that's just me holding on or being resistant or being not wanting to lose control, right? Because if I'm playing catch with you, I'm concentrating on the ball, I'm concentrating on the actions, and I'm not tracking what we're doing, which is what I want, right? That's what we want with the kids. So it'd be interesting, and I'm not crapping on it. I'm just saying I'm trying to look at all the different angles of it. So yeah,
it raises an interesting quandary. Yeah, I mean, normally, I'm always coming from the place of what's in the best interest of the client. Like, is this going to help them? Is this going to be a form of therapy that they'll benefit from more than if I'm, following a paint by numbers approach?
Yeah. Well, we definitely have to do it outside.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's not in an office. I'm sitting on that field. We're hanging out.
Oh yeah. We came out all this way. I mean, it's a beautiful town. I don't want to be, doing it in the house or in the car or whatever. Heck no.
No. And I think I'd explore a lot of metaphors with him too. What the game means, what the players mean, because I don't know if he even realizes what we realize is how they all are different parts of him, different sections of his life, and so that he can visualize it. It's something tangible, right? Something he can sink his teeth into, to have those aha moments to say, oh man, I never noticed that, and they were able to surpass that or get past it, or however you want to look at it. I can do the same thing. So we might be able to use them to help him process some of the memories, some of his own fears, and ultimately create forgiveness, which again, I don't push for, but it's usually a byproduct.
You could almost use, I feel like there's a way, because I love that. I love the idea of using the players, as a part of this. I feel like there's got to be a way to use the baseball field itself as a tool to construct kind of a life trauma, healing narrative, almost. Like I'm envisioning, using the bases, using the actions of pitching. Like, obviously this is going to be spread out across several sessions, but
for sure,
using the baseball field as almost a physical life map for him to help to kind of, pitch by pitch, base by base, map out and find those key points in his life that have led him up to where he is today, to hit that home run of self-actualization.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, it would be storytelling, because that's what I was thinking too. I'd go into more like more narrative type techniques, but I don't know if I'd have him write anything out. For me, it would be just having him tell me the story, and yeah, how did you build the field? But like, I think it would be because I'm picturing him with this little girl. I'm picturing him mowing everything down, but there was no sadness. There was no fear. It just was, and I want to know how he felt. I want to know how he felt when he was doing all this, and then I'll towards the middle of it, I might throw in, man, weren't you scared that you were basically just chopping up money? So that he can come to the realization of he wasn't at that moment. At the moment, he felt free. He felt finally in charge of his own life. He felt connected. He felt love, openness, and that's what I'm hoping to water, right? To fertilize is that, so that he can encompass that into the rest of his life, and then I guess some guided stuff to where we look at him as a kid, what it looked like how he felt, showing him playing catch with his dad before the this all happened. It's like Ted Lasso, right? You ever watched Ted Lasso yet?
Not yet, but I know what the
Oh,
show's
it's so
about.
good,
I've heard,
so
yeah,
good,
I've
so
heard it's
good,
a great
so
show.
good, so good. You should watch it. And I'd love to do him if you ever get a chance to watch it. But the therapist that they hire for the team, she she's going through, and I won't give you the details because you haven't seen it, but she's going through some grief with him, and just like we experience every time we're in session, it's all the negative ugly stuff, it's all the horror, which is cool, get it out, I get it. But then she asks him, tell me something that you loved about him, and he was thrown for a loop. He didn't know what the hell to do with that, because he's so used to the I call it the script, right? This is a script that I read to everybody. This is the one I tell my friends. This is the one I tell of how horrible this was. And okay, but what about the other side? And so that helped him to see that there was two sides. Yes, there was some horrible stuff, but there was also love. There was also connection. There was also so much he learned. And I think doing that with Ray would be kind of a game changer, so that he can let go
Pun
of some of
intended.
these things. Yeah, yeah, he can let go of some of these things he's holding on to. And then the symbolism, right? Building something impractical. The I guess the like the how I don't know, what would you call that? Well, going with building, I'd say creating the blueprints. Excuse me, the blueprints of healing.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it's
And
Albert Ellis would be all over this. If
oh,
he would
perfect, yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
love it. It's using the hand to connect the head and the heart.
Yes, yes, literally that. And then I would not end, because it's circular, right? Or circular. I don't know. It doesn't just start in one place, and it usually goes. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but therapy sessions usually end where they started, because there's that weird intrinsic connection to these emotions that they come in with, that they're not even aware of, and then we connect them at the end because they see how they already came with this idea. So then I would really hone in on the curiosity, the emotions, what he'd wish for himself to be as a father, and how that's interrelated with what he wanted from his dad as a father, and then what his dad did do that represents what he would want. And then I would strengthen his confidence, of how he is an incredible man, and how emotionally insightful he is, and how he's making such a difference, and how he ended this generational trauma, ideally, with his daughter. Is it going to be perfect? No, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. But he is going to get her to be so much more high functioning than he's ever been. And let's also highlight and shine some I don't know, happy dust on his how he taught her to be a little rebellious, a little strong, a little outspoken, which is beautiful. It gives her inner strength. A lot, you can tell that's all self esteem, self worth, and how that's also a reflection of him, because he does possess it. It is within him.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
she brings out the best in him.
yes, and that it's already there, whether he wants to see it or not, and eventually he will, and we're going to change all the patterns of it.
That's right. Daniel, to close out for today, I want to ask what you think about this, because I didn't pick up on this the first time I saw the movie, but I was kind of thrown almost, it got me misty eyed when I realized what this could mean. It's at the very end of the movie. It's after Terrence Mann has been invited to go to where the players came from.
Yeah, and
And
he wants to go.
and he wants to go. And Ray is a little taken aback, because he's said, wait a minute, this is my cornfield. You guys, I mean, this is my land. I built this. Why don't I get to go? What's going on here? I made this. And Shoeless Joe Jackson kind of looks at him funny and says, is that why you built this place? All for you? I think you better stay here, Ray. And But then he's able to connect with his dad, and he comes to that area of peace. But what threw me was that and the closing shot of the line of cars all coming down was what really brought it home. Ray's built something that goes beyond just his own story and healing. He's built a place that, while he needed to do it for himself initially, for his own, to find his own closure and his own healing with himself and his father, this is a space that can offer all of that to everyone who comes there. He's created something that really can and should belong to the world, because there's healing for everybody. There's that same love, that same joy and actualization for all who choose to come there to that field.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I think the field, again, is just a metaphor, right? It's something tangible, but the reality is that we're all suffering in our own way. And that this acceptance of self, really reconnecting with our true authentic self, and letting go, loving, connecting, being appreciating or embracing the beauty of the ordinary life. However you want to look at it, it's just us being here, us being completely present, completely tuned in, and living the life that we're supposed to be living. I think that's the key to it all.
It is. Well, Daniel, I appreciate you, and
appreciate you. Man.
Thank you. I've had a great time out here in the fields, chatting with you and with Ray and his family, and I'm looking forward. I'll save a catch for you on the field.
Yeah, there you go.